We've looked at the E010 in another video. This one has seen better days, and it is now actually running a red canopy instead of the green one. But today, we're looking at this Poke FPV. This little nice 80s retro packaging that it comes in. Poke FPV. It's made by a company called FreeStyle. It looks like this right here, and these are available at Adrenaline Racing. And this is what the quadcopter itself looks like inside there. Let's get this opened up and take a look at it. So here's everything that's included with it. Of course, you get the Poke FPV quadcopter. You get a transmitter that looks a lot like the one from the E010. You get 4 extra propellers, and you get 2 blacks and 2 reds. And in fact, it even comes with 2 reds and 2 blacks already on it. And instead of a 150, you're actually getting a 200 milliwatt hour battery. Yep, 200. So this one can actually fly a little longer than the E010 because it only comes with a 150. And you also get a USB charger like this, and of course the box. And there's also some instructions. Really the only thing that I needed to know from when I read this was that if the quadcopter constantly gets in the air and is always leaning like this, and you're always having to correct it back to the left, you can land it on the ground, put it on a flat surface, take your transmitter while it's powered on, and you got your throttle off so it sits on the ground, and you hold down left like this, and the lights will start to flash, and that tells the quadcopter, set a new level, so that way he's not, leaning all the time. And next time when you get in the air, he should stay pretty level, or at least the same level that he was when he was sitting on your table, and that way it'll keep it from drifting one way or the other. So this is an E010. It's pretty stock except for the 4 propellers have been cut off of there. This is an E010 with the camera and video transmitter attached to it. And this is the Poke FPV. So we're going to go ahead and weigh these to get a little bit of difference in weights between these. First we'll start with the E010 stock, except for the cut propellers. Comes in at 17.3 grams. This is the E010 with the camera, and it comes in at 20.8 grams, and the Poke FPV, which is surprisingly that it weighs a little bit more at 24.1 grams. So it's a little bit heavier even than the E010 with the camera and the 3D printed part attached onto it, but you'll see that it makes up for this in the kV of the motors because it's a lot more powerful. The E010 comes with a battery that is rated at 150 milliamp hour. There we go. While the Poke FPV comes with one that is rated at 200 milliamp hour. Now the difference would be that this one can last a little bit longer because the 200 milliamps. Now this one is rated at 30C, there we go. But unfortunately this one doesn't have a C rating associated with it. But because of the performance that it outputs, I would assume that it's at least a 30C. But I wanted to weigh these batteries real quick to see what the big difference was weight-wise between them. Here's a 150, comes in at 4.7 grams. Whereas the 200 comes in at 6.1. Now, of course, it is going to be a little bit more weight because it's a 200 milliamp hour instead of a 150. But what that equates out to is that the Poke FPV can actually fly a little bit longer than the E010. First, we'll start off with the E010 and show you how it flies. Then we'll move on to the Poke FPV. Here we go, taking off. And it flies around pretty well. It feels a little bit on the doggy side when like here's a full punch out. I'll go kind of from just hovering, full punch out. Let me get a little closer where we can see a little better. I'm just hovering, I'll go full punch out, full punch out. That's kind of about as hot, whoa. There, I bounced off the ground. There's a burnout going away from us. Even though it didn't really look like much of a burnout. All right, let's try the Poke FPV, we'll see how it flies. Here we go. And this thing flies a lot the same. Oh boy, it has a lot more lean in it, and I don't even have it turned on to do that. Whoa. But this one, it feels like it has a lot more agility in it. And here it is, we'll get a little close look. You can see this looks like some kind of character out of a Star Wars movie. All right. So let's try some punch outs. Let me get it out here and I'll go ahead and give it full throttle. Oh, that was a little too much. Okay, here we go. I'll get a little lower. We'll give it a full throttle. Getting out here a little bit. Okay, full throttle. And that almost hit the ceiling again. Kind of from just hovering, full punch out. Full throttle. Full punch out. Full throttle. Full punch out. Full throttle. So between the E010 and the Poke FPV, this Poke FPV I think wins in all kinds of performance contests, but the E010 it kind of wins in the weight, and that's just probably because this Poke FPV has this plastic shell going over the whole thing, which weighs a little bit more. But I think the higher kV motors that this has in it help make up for that extra weight. In fact, I would say they absolutely do, because it was flying really well. Anyway. E010 and the Poke FPV. If you have any questions about this, leave them in the comments. I will try to help you out as best I can. And as always, thanks for watching.